Welcome to the SHT podcast. This podcast is created by superhumans, for superhumans, and anyone else who wants to look, feel, and perform like a freaking badass. Your holistic health journey starts here. Rediscover how we...
Yeah!
Paul, sit your ass down.
All right, welcome back, y'all.
Hey. Another episode of the We Are the SHT podcast.
Yeah, it's so great looking into your eyes.
Oh, is it?
And not on camera.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
I feel like the camera sometimes puts a little bit of weird pressure on us.
I think so too.
I don't know.
I just feel like I have to you turn yourself on or something to be
tough.
a different character.
It's tough. It's tough to try to get it right, and have it come across really genuine, but not be self-conscious of it all. So.
No, I thought your take today was really cute. I even told you, I was like, oh, I see a little bit of your personality.
No, talking about the dairy one we did.
Yeah, the dairy one we just filmed.
And you've got good news, right, about your pup?
Yes,
your pup's doing better?
Pup is doing great. We went to the neurologist today. She was like, don't come back here. I don't want to see you. He's great. Go back home. Unless you just want to come say hi. He's fine.
That's so great.
He's off his pain medication. He's good.
When you get to where you start socializing them, and
we're going to hold off on
let him play a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I'll bring him. I don't care. But they're like, we want to hold off on his last set of vaccinations so he's 100%, and then we'll get him back in. And because we were nervous that triggered everything to start out with, but they're not thinking so.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
Yeah. So we'll see. We're going to hold off for a minute. So.
Good. I know that was a big stress.
Yes.
It sucks.
It's been a good, since February 2nd. It's been stressed. So, but no, things are great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Look at him.
I know.
Stay.
Sorry. That look on his face was priceless.
I know, right? He's like, I don't want my dogs. We had a really good weekend this weekend.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And we missed you because,
I know.
The lifestyle progression kickoff was it was connected. It was very heartfelt. And
that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really great. I got to a certain part of it, which I'll cover with you at some point.
Yeah.
And I mean, out in the crowd, we had about 50 people.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I thought it was really good for this. I want more people.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about that here in a second.
Yeah.
But I want more people to get awake and aware of these other things that are very, very important. That's kind of actually going to segue into the intro here. But anyway, I'm up there and out there in 50 people. I was covering some stuff. It was like an intro into the mindfulness thing. And there was 4 or 5 people just crying, bawling.
Aww.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I started to tear up. And I had to kind of turn. I don't think anybody noticed it. And I started choking up. But it was it's such powerful information.
It really is.
And such necessary information, and that's part of what I covered in the beginning, which was, so today what we're going to talk about is, my dad's calling.
Hi, Dad.
Today what we're going to talk about is another one of our foundations. I feel like we've done a really good job covering the food piece.
Yeah.
And so now we're going to try to spend a little bit of time in each one of our other foundations and give everyone some basic takeaways. But to intro into that, it's important to understand why these foundations are so important. Because most people think about only 2 things when it comes to changing their body, or if they feel like something's off, what they need to do.
Yeah.
And that is fitness and food.
Yep.
That's it. And the reason that we know this is because on a daily basis, we visit with people and their response is all. So let's say it's someone that is not in the SHT realm, right? And you talk to someone about they want to lose weight, they want to feel better. Yeah, I need to get to the gym.
Yeah.
I need to start working out.
That's the number one thing they go to.
Yeah.
That, or I need to eat better.
Yeah. And those are important, you know, but then we could also look at people that have been through the SHT or one of our progressions and seen complete transformation inside and out and lost a lot of weight. And then at some point down the road, which happens to a lot of us, they kind of fall off and you can tell and that they're not feeling as great and they put on a little weight and they know what works, right? But they would still say, if I approach them, I'm like, hey, what's going on? How can I help? Let's get together. I need to start working out again. It's always this mindset of coming and working out. And it's the more that they can work out, the better. A lot of people feel like fitness is the counter to everything else. And the reality is that is not the case at all. Colby and I have proved over and over again that all you need is 1 hour of power.
Yeah.
4 days a week 5 days a week, maybe at the most. And that's it. We work out less now than we did 3 or 4 years ago when we started all this stuff, and we're better.
Yeah.
Our performance is better. Our strength is better. Everything, conditioning, flexibility, mobility, everything, our skills. And it's because we don't spend a lot of time on that. We spend all our time trying to hone in the food and the sleep and the being outdoors and the meditation and the mindfulness and all that other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So that was one thing that I introed into, was like, these other foundations are so important.
Yeah.
It's not even funny. So when I feel off, if I feel like a little bit, chubbier or something, or if I feel like my energy levels are off, or I got some skin issues popping up, my first reaction is not, I need to go back to the gym. I need to work out more.
I agree. Oh, I'm the same way, especially with all of this puppy stuff happening. Of course, my first reaction was, I just need sleep.
Yes.
Like, I would skip the gym completely just to get more sleep. And that, to me, was the most important thing.
Well, because now you know how important it is.
Yes.
Now, a lot of people, I'm glad you brought up the sleep thing, because a lot of people would sacrifice sleep to make it to the gym.
Yeah, but honestly...
Thinking that, like, I just got to get my workout in because that's going to, count for so much.
And I understand that,
I do too.
And getting into the gym gives me energy in the morning.
It feels good, and you're around people that you care about.
Yes.
And that's an aspect of it that we could say, okay, well, maybe that is worth it. But, I mean, if you're struggling with body composition, energy levels, any specific symptoms or conditions, your emotions, any of that kind of stuff. It's more to do with addressing all these foundations than it is to just focus on the fitness.
Agreed.
All right, and if your diet sucks, and let's just say that you got the fitness and the diet figured out. Well, that means that you need to spend time on these other little pieces because everything is important. If you got the diet and the fitness figured out and you're not sleeping good, you're not going to see the results that you want.
No, you're not.
If you got the fitness and the food figured out and you're not meditating and working with some kind of a mindfulness practice, you're not going to be happy over the long term.
Yep.
And if you're not spending time outdoors and getting in nature and unplugging and disconnecting from EMFs and radiation and pollution, you're not going to see the changes that you want. Although fitness and food are going to have a big part of it, but everything matters. It's all extremely important. So that was my intro into all this, is just helping people understand every bit of every one of these foundations matter.
Yeah.
And those of us that are veterans, I'd say including you, understand the importance of, like, hey, I work out for an hour a day, I focus on real food, and now I need to start understanding and learning how to improve my sleep and how to meditate and how to practice all these other things. So today we'll talk a little bit about circadian rhythms. And I had a really good conversation with Stormy. Remember Stormy from the Real Foodie Progression?
I'm going to feel like a jerk.
I'll show you a picture.
Please show me a picture.
Yeah, I'll show you a picture. You'll recognize her. So she's great.
That's such a good name.
I know, right? I meant to ask her if that's really her real name.
That's awesome.
But we had a really good conversation around, I get so excited to sit down with people and talk about, like, these other foundations, especially meditation and mindfulness. But what I love about the SHT is I'm really proud of what we've done with it. Because you look at that last progression we just did, 110 people in a room.
Crazy.
Chairs, a professional screen and presentation, mic'd up, guides, journals, handouts, folders, like, where else in the world are you seeing anything like this? Vendors,
almost every week.
Support, social media, you handling social media. We have the support team behind the scenes, and it's just like, where else are you going to see and experience something like this?
That's true.
And there's a lot of love behind it, And so when it comes to these other foundations, it's the same thing. Like, there's a million different ways to eat real food or do nutrition, right? There's a million different methodologies.
Oh, yeah.
But really, there's only one way, and that's our way.
That's so true.
Because our way takes into account everything, right?
Yep.
Same thing with what we're going to cover with sleep and circadian rhythms. Same thing with what we cover in meditation and mindfulness. It's like there's a million different ways to do all these different things, but we boil it down to, this is why, this is how, this is what works. You know? So there's that.
And honestly, it's one of the most simple ways to break it down. Like, if you talk to somebody and then you all of a sudden need to explain creatine and protein shakes and all this stuff, it's so complicated. But when you sit down and talk to somebody about just eating real food, they're like, wait, that's too simple. Yeah. It's easy.
Well, exactly, and it needs to be like that too. That's another thing I've learned about us is that's what we do. It's really like, this is why, and this is what you need to do. Yeah. Like, you don't have to understand all that stuff, but we give you resources and books and things that you can read if you want to dive into it a little bit more. But I don't need to read another book to understand what real food is.
It's just common sense. Honestly, when you look at it, it's logical.
Well, it is now that we've been through it and we understand it. But there was a time before that we were all lost.
Yeah.
You know?
True.
So today we're going to cover circadian rhythms, and we may have a few episodes on this, but let's just talk about the importance of it.
Yes.
And so circadian rhythms, the Earth is rotating, and we have this perception of the sun rising and setting, but it's really the Earth is rotating, and then also the Earth is, what do you call that? Orbiting around the sun, rotating. I was like,
I literally got this scared look on my face, going, I don't know either.
But you knew what I was trying to say.
Yes.
Orbiting, it's rotating. And so the sun gives life to the planet. Without the sun, we would not be here. Life would not exist, right? The sun gives the Earth photons. It gives us near infrared, far infrared warmth. But it also has to have this ebb and flow, because if we were in the sunlight the whole time, like nothing would exist, right? And if we were in darkness the whole time, nothing would exist. So there's this ebb and flow of light and dark cycles, and there's this ebb and flow of the warmth, and all this changes too. What's really crazy about it is we go into a lot of detail in the 13.5 Days of Sleeping Like a Freaking Champ, which is the name of one of our programs. But as the sun is going through the sky, you're getting different angles, different frequencies, different wavelengths, and that's changing. It's refracting through the atmosphere, and at certain times it's just like your body is picking up on all this information, and every living organism is picking up on this information, and these things change based on the time of year, based on where you're at on the planet, based on your hemisphere. Like there's just so many different complex things that factor into it. But there's rhythms within rhythms within rhythms. It's freaking unbelievably fascinating. Like our cells have circadian clocks. Our tissues, our organs, they all have circadian clocks. And so circadian rhythms is really about aligning your biological rhythms with the natural rhythms of the rotation of the Earth and the light and dark cycles. And that can change depending on where you're at. If you end up flying into another time zone or another continent or something, you can reset and change and adapt to that different area. But that's really what circadian rhythms are. And so if every living organism on the planet, including plants and single-celled bacteria, every living organism on the planet is in sync with circadian rhythms. Humans have taken themselves out of sync.
Yeah.
How did we do that?
Oh boy, night shifts.
Yeah. And that's a good point.
Yes.
What else?
Our lighting, of course.
Huge.
LED lighting. So much.
Yeah. So night shift, sometimes there's things you can't avoid.
Of course. Graveyard
sometimes you have to do what you got to do.
Avoid.
But because of this modern world, we are taking ourselves out of sync, and it's not even at this point about like getting enough sleep. And there's a big difference between going to bed when the sun goes down and getting up when the sun comes up versus sleeping from midnight until 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. or something like that. Because ideally what you want is you want to be in tune and in sync with the natural rhythms of this rotating Earth and the sun, light and dark cycles and stuff. And so if you are, your hormonal patterns, everything about the way your body functions is going to be a little bit more optimal than if you did it outside of that. So one of the things that we covered in our class this weekend was, as an example, hormones are secreted based on circadian rhythms. So if you're in sync with circadian rhythms, when you first wake up in the morning, you have your highest level secretion of cortisol. And that's going to be synonymous with the body trying to create energy. And so a lot of us that are relatively in sync with our own patterns, and we kind of have like our sleep patterns set. I know for me, I don't know if this is true for you, but like I can't sleep in because I just want to get up. I try, or can you sleep in?
I could sleep.
We got to work on your sleep then.
Okay, well, here's the thing. I can't sleep past like 9 a.m. anymore, but I used to be able to sleep until like 1 p.m.
To like
oh my
noon
gosh.
Okay, well, then I would say that's moving in our direction for sure. Yeah.
But I still need an alarm clock.
Yeah.
I do.
Well, we need to work on your sleep. You're going to learn a little bit today. You know some of this, but this will be a good refresher.
Thank you.
But I think most people that are in sync, like it's very difficult to sleep in.
It's true. I talk to Kat all the time, and she says, I'm up at like 3 a.m., 4 a.m. I'm up. My body's up. I don't set an alarm clock.
Yeah. Even on weekends. Yeah. Even if I stay up late. Like I'm just like, when it gets to be about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm like, I just can't.
Just wake up.
I'm just so used to it. So ideally, if you're in sync with circadian rhythms, you secrete some cortisol. That's synonymous with your body trying to create some energy. It gives you a little bit of a jolt. And then and that's synonymous with also the sun rising and daylight, right? That's the signal that we should be receiving. Daylight equals warmth, equals energy, equals a secretion of cortisol. And then as the sun starts to dip and fade out, then that's when our cortisol levels also dip. And then this would be synonymous with darkness, coolness, rest and recuperation. And this is when your body ideally would start to secrete some melatonin. Okay. Now, if you're out of sync with circadian rhythms, then that whole pattern is off because the body is trying to respond to these light and dark signals, but you're trying to do something different. And so things are just not going to work ideally the way that they should, right? Now, we spend a lot of time in our lifetime sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay. So of all the different activities that we could categorize, including things like, working and watching TV and socialization and all that stuff, sleeping takes up the largest chunk over a lifetime. It's about 36% of your life is spent sleeping, or I think to put it more accurately,
attempting to sleep.
Yeah.
I like that.
Because people spend a lot of time in bed and trying to sleep, but they don't sleep, So, and some of it's because of what we're going to learn here.
Okay, I'm excited. I can pass this on to Ryan because he's the one who has problems falling asleep.
I can tell you what his problems are at sports.
Amen.
Probably.
All right. Yep, you're right.
All right. So why would we think that sleep is important? What are some things that come to mind for you?
Oh gosh, mine would be mood. Yes, mood.
Absolutely.
I am very grumpy if I don't get sleep. I can't function. I can't. Emotionally, I can't.
It's good that you notice that, but you know what? Other people notice it too.
Yeah. Oh, rude.
Yeah. No. Just kidding. I'm not saying with you.
Oh, ask Brian. He knows.
Everybody's talking about you. I'm saying you, the rhetorical, euphorical you. Yes. I'm saying when we don't get sleep.
It's very noticeable.
You notice it. That's great.
Yeah.
But other people notice it.
Oh, for sure.
So from a brain perspective, this is when the brain clears all its toxins. It flushes them out through some fluid. And then you also, start to notice like improvements in all your different brain function the next day if you have really good sleep. Like your memory and your mental clarity and your focus. And like you said, your mood and emotions and happiness.
Oh, for sure.
Strongly correlated with a good sleep, right? From a physical standpoint, you've got obviously better performance and your energy levels are different and more consistent. Your immune system functions a lot better. So I know for me, anytime I get sick, it's almost always from after a night of staying up late.
Yes.
Or being out drinking.
Traveling
or
for me. Traveling for me. Every time I travel, I come home with a sore throat. Don't know why, because I just don't sleep when I travel.
Part of it is you're shifting, your body's trying to adapt and your immune system is not as robust.
Yeah.
And then part of that's probably being on a plane with a bunch of people coughing and passing germs and stuff like that. Yeah. We've already mentioned hormones. You have a lot of people, there's a lot of talk around the gut and then also hormones, but hormone balance has a lot to do with being in sync with these natural rhythms because then you're secreting hormones at the right time of day or what your body is expecting. And then also if you're rested, you look good physically.
Yeah.
And then we'd say that there's not a single condition that if you're sleep deprived, it doesn't make worse. Yeah. And conditions mean everything from body composition to subjective markers to things that you can actually measure and symptoms and conditions. And so sleep deprivation is going to be a huge problem. So one night of not getting enough sleep, you already mentioned your mood's off, right?
Oh, 100%.
You notice it. Other people can notice it. So you're not going to look as good. You're not going to seem as good, okay? One night of poor sleep and your immune system is suppressed.
Yep.
One night of poor sleep and your focus sucks. I know for me, I have a tendency to just kind of drift from one thing to the next. I mean, I already have that tendency, but if I'm tired, man, I'm just I have no focus whatsoever.
No, I'm the same way. When I don't sleep, I can't focus on anything. And usually when I do sleep, I have such a I have mental clarity like no other and can have a to-do list in my head without having to write anything down, nothing. But the minute I don't sleep, I'm on it. The minute I don't sleep, it's gone.
Yeah, you're on it. And then something that I know is important to all of us, the whole self-sufficiency and metabolic flexibility. One night of poor sleep and you are in automatic insulin resistance the next day. And I've proved this with some experiments where I did blood sugar testing with myself and a couple of my cohorts. And sure enough, our blood sugar levels were high even in the presence of a low-carb situation, right? So one night of poor sleep, and it's very, very difficult for your body to tap into its own fat stores for fuel.
Crazy.
Yeah. And then something very important to a lot of us is, your sex steroid secretion. So now, 3 or more nights of getting bad sleep and your risk for stroke quadruples.
Ooh.
And what that means is that where it's a relative risk, right? So if I'm super healthy and I have no cardiovascular risk at all, I'm 4 times more likely to have a stroke or a cardiovascular event based on that, which means probably nothing will happen. But if I'm someone on the verge of a cardiac event and then I get 3+ nights of poor sleep, like my tendency towards that is going to increase dramatically.
Interesting.
And then over time, because we don't have that ability to tap into fat stores for fuel and have that self-sufficiency and metabolic flexibility, we start to have weight gain, even though, you may be doing the fitness thing perfect and you may be eating real food 100% perfect. If you're not getting enough sleep, it's almost impossible for your body to tap into its own fat stores for fuel. Inflammation drives up over time. We see a lot of low sex drive, fertility issues, because you have to have that rest in order to create and secrete and clean, and then risk of death from all causes starts to go up. So, and like we mentioned, it's the modern lifestyle. That's it. Yeah. That's what messes us all up.
And technology is a huge one too. I've really noticed recently, even staring at my phone for longer than 10 minutes, let's say 10 to 15 minutes, I feel it mentally. Like I just get an instant headache.
It drains you a little bit.
It drains you very much. So crazy.
Yeah. So there's that. There's the stressful component, and then there's the light.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting. We pulled up the brightness and the intensity of light has a lot to do with how things are setting our circadian rhythms. Yeah. So from a natural perspective, if we're on a moonless night, you can look this up on Wikipedia, and we'd see, what is that, 1,000th or 10,000th?
1,000th. 10,000.
Yeah.
Yep, the 10, 100,000, 10,000.
Yep. So 0.0001 lux, which is an intensity of light. Okay?
Cool.
That's on a moonless night. Full moon, you get 1 lux. Office lighting is usually about 500 lux. An overcast day, we're looking at 1,000 lux.
That makes sense.
And then full daylight, you're looking at 25,000 to 100,000 lux. All right, so this is the brightness that we're expecting during the day is somewhere on this end of the spectrum, that 1,000 lux to 100,000 lux. And in the evening, what we're looking for is that minimal light exposure. At the most, we're looking at about 1 lux on a really full moon, bright night that you can actually see yourself walking without any lights out in the woods or something. So now, cell phones are going to be between 4 and 50 lux, depending on the brightness of your screen and device that you have, which is brighter than a full moon. Okay, and then also TVs and televisions and most computer screens are going to be anywhere from 500 to 1,000 lux, which is brighter than a full moon, not as bright as like a full blown full daylight. So one thing that is useful to understand is that most people think that if my eyes are closed, and I'm sleeping, then light doesn't impact me.
Oh gosh, no, that's not the case.
Yeah, why?
Oh, I wake up if somebody turns on the light.
Yeah.
My body will wake myself up.
Exactly. And the reason is because you got photoreceptors in every part of your body.
Yeah.
The strongest ones are going to be in your retina.
Yes.
Like every part of your body. I actually used that example in the talk this weekend about if you, even if you have a sleeping mask on, if someone comes in and cuts the light on in your bedroom, you're going to wake up.
Feel it.
You can feel it. You can
100%.
notice it. Yeah. Without even hearing it, because your body can pick up on those signals.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So we already mentioned office lighting is not very bright, but computers and cell phones and television screens and things like that are very bright. So what we have here, from a brightness and light perspective, which by the way is the number one thing that's going to set circadian rhythms, we have during the day, most of us are spending time in an office environment that is not bright enough to set the signal that we want from a full daylight day or even an overcast day, right? So we're shielded from the brightness of the day, and then when the sun goes down, we have too much brightness from our cell phones and our televisions and things, way brighter than a full moon, which is what we would be exposed to naturally at the most. And so the problem with this is we're not getting the brightness that we need during the day, and we're getting too much brightness at night. And that causes a lot of problems, and it's almost impossible for us to set our circadian rhythms, unless we're aware of this and we do some things to kind of mitigate it. So, and then, a lot of people sleep with the TV on.
I used to before SHT, I would have the TV on, fear of the dark, but I slept way better when I just turned it off.
I know. And a lot of people have it's like an emotional something tied to it. Like they think they won't be able to sleep without the TV on because they have it going, right? The problem with the TV going at night is you got the brightness. So we already talked about having photoreceptors all over your body. We have verbal language that's going on potentially that you're picking up at an unconscious level. And then, of course, you have EMFs and radiation that are emitted from any kind of electronic device that's going. So that would be the other problem with a lot of these devices that we're using in the evening time is the EMFs and radiation because EMFs and radiation disrupt cellular communication and they inhibit sleep. So there's 2 ways that we would say you can improve sleep. What would be the first one?
Getting more than 8 hours?
Getting a sufficient amount of time. Okay. So,
unbroken amount of time.
Maybe.
Would be best.
Would be best, all right? So now unbroken what? What are you talking about?
Sleep. Like being asleep for a good amount of time unbroken.
Okay.
Because I've experienced that, Ryan and I have with the puppy. It was like we woke up every 2 hours when he came home from ICU and like, oh my gosh. No sleep whatsoever.
Well, that is unplanned.
For sure.
Interrupted sleep.
But,
you know what I mean? Yeah. So what we want when it comes, so there's 2 ways to improve sleep. Number one is duration, the amount of time. We talked about this at this meeting too. What we want is a dedicated amount of bedtime, but that bedtime does not have to be uninterrupted. Like you from the time you lay down to the time you wake up, like you're asleep, because that's almost impossible. Most people don't do that. Okay.
I used to.
I know. Well, you probably didn't realize that you woke up once or twice in the middle of the night. So one thing that I think is very useful to understand is when you have an allotted bedtime, the goal is not to not wake up during the middle of the night, because a lot of people, they have this stress that they put on themselves about not waking up. And the stress of not waking up adds to the not sleeping, because when you do wake up, you're stressed out about not going back to sleep, right? So if you understand that it is actually natural to wake up once or twice in the middle of the night, and then let yourself just naturally kind of go back to sleep without stressing out about it, like that actually tends to work in most people's favor.
All right, Joe, I'm going to try that tonight.
So if you study anthropology and you look at non-modernized populations, almost all of them wake up a couple times in the middle of the night. Okay. And if you have like an Oura Ring or you have some kind of sleep monitor, sleep tracker, you'll notice you'll cycle through these different phases of deep sleep and REM, and your actual deep sleep time is very minimal. But it's natural to wake up once or twice in the middle of the night. So don't stress out about it, because that will keep you from sleeping.
I think that's exactly what's going on.
Yeah. A lot of people will wake up and they'll just be like, I'm supposed to be asleep. And then they stress out about it and they can't get back to sleep. Yeah. So it's okay. All right. Now, the way to improve duration, we would say, is figure out what time you need to get up and then backwards plan, I'd say 7 hours at a minimum to figure out what your ideal bedtime is. And then you just kind of know, like, this is when I need to be in bed. And then if that seems just completely crazy and you can't make it to bed that time, then maybe start to improve your sleep or duration by about 30 minutes every week until you get used to it, right? So let's say that your ideal bedtime, what time you got to get up in the morning? Or do you have to get up?
We do 4:20 a.m.
4:20, all right, because you're trying to make the 5 a.m., right? All right, so backwards plan from 4:20 to what? What is that, 7 hours back?
We try to go to bed at like 8.
Okay, well that's good.
It's like 8.
That's about right.
8:20.
Right. So that's about right. 8:30 would be. That would be.
We try to get our butts in bed by 8:30. Does it work most nights? No, but that's our goal.
7 hours would actually be
9:20. Oh,
yeah,
okay,
9:20.
okay, cool.
I think 9, 10.
That's honestly the honest answer of when we get to sleep is probably 9 or 9:15 ish. So we do relatively well on the time of sleep.
Yeah. So that's good. So 7 hours backwards planning, that's your drop dead getting to bedtime or being bedtime.
Yep.
And you're doing pretty good with that. So if that was like unimaginable because you're just so used to staying up late, we'd say just like try to get to bed 30 minutes earlier.
Yes.
Make that a habit for a few weeks and you'd be good to go.
Yep.
So
that's good. That's a good little tip.
Now, we also recommend people put an alarm on their phone, and alarms help tremendously. Yeah. So I don't know, about the little night thing on the cell phones.
I have it on during the day, actually.
Well, not the night shift. That's good too for the blue light.
What are you talking
but
about
like
the night thing?
On the sleep app on the iPhone, if you go to bedtime,
yeah,
and you put in your wake time.
Oh yeah, I used to have it. Oh, see, look. Yep, 8:20 to 4:20. Look at that.
And then if you click on the options, you'll see that there is a option to remind you 60
Monday
minutes.
through Friday for the gym.
Mm-hmm. So I would put right here, I would do an hour reminder about bedtime.
Cool.
And it will pop up and give you a signal to get to bed on time. And the reason I think that's really beneficial is once you see that reminder, you can't unsee it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's like an unconscious cue to tell your body to start to wind down. So I think an alarm telling you it's an hour before your bedtime is going to be really useful for most people. And then the other thing we want to mess with is maybe trying to improve the quality of your sleep. Mm-hmm. So even if you didn't do anything about like your duration because of work responsibilities and family responsibilities, then we'd say at a minimum, when you go to bed, you got to turn off all your stuff.
Yeah, for sure. We've started putting all of our cell phones on airplane mode, for sure.
Well, here's another thing, all right? We talked about this at the meeting too. That's good, but you want your phone away from you.
Yeah.
Why?
That's something we got to do.
Why would we want?
Just so those signals aren't going through you when you sleep. I'm not quite sure. What do you...
That's important, one of them? Right? But if it's in airplane mode, you're kind of mitigating that, right?
Yeah.
So what I've noticed is if you have your phone close to you as you're sleeping, you will have a tendency to want to look at your phone and see what time it is.
That's so true.
Yeah.
I do that in the middle of the night.
And if you know it's there, you're going to do it.
Yes.
Okay? Now, if I come in to go to sleep and I put my phone to bed and I put it in a charger or something like that over like somewhere where I can't reach it, and I know that when I get into bed, and I know that I don't have the ability to look at it, I don't have this unconscious desire to look at it.
I'm going to do that tonight.
You have to.
I'm going to do that tonight.
I think it's an absolutely mandatory requirement. So when you go to bed, I would say your phone has to be away from you. You can have an alarm on it. That's perfectly fine. Your phone has to be out of arm's reach.
Yeah.
You do not want a clock visible anywhere.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people will have these clocks that shine up on the wall or on the ceiling, or they got something in the distance they can see. It's the same thing. If you wake up and you look at that and like, oh, I got 3 hours left.
Yeah.
Oh, I got 2 hours left. Oh, I got 1 hour left.
You'll get stressed out.
Yeah. And you're giving yourself an unconscious command to look at the time all the time and to be always counting down the time, right? Mm-hmm. So what you want is, you want it to be a mystery. You want the time to be just out of sight, out of mind, phones out of arm's distance. And when you go to bed, no lights are in the room, TV is not on, because the light signal from the TV is going to be messing with your circadian rhythms. The EMFs and radiation from any electronic devices would be messing with your circadian rhythms. So what I would say is, like, when you go to bed, the goal has got to be to make your bed area pristine, electronic free, no lights, and you have to do a little detective work to see where lights might be creeping in from, maybe street lights or something like that. If you have a wireless router, we'd say that's not optimal to have in the bedroom, because the signal from these things are so strong the closer you get to them. The further you can put yourself away from your router, the better, because that signal's reduced dramatically after like maybe about 3 feet or something like that. So those would be the best ways to mitigate or improve your sleep. Duration, you can chip away at that. 30 minutes, increase your your sleep time by about 30 minutes for a couple weeks until you get used to it, and keep chipping away at that until you get to your ideal 7 or 8 hours. And then also you want to improve the quality so that when you go to bed, it's just basically electronic free zone, cool and dark in your room, and you're not getting exposure from all those different frequencies and stuff.
Alrighty.
So is that what you got? Some homework? Yeah.
No, I have some homework. I need to go home and I need to plug my phone in somewhere else when I charge it instead of right by me, because I do get really stressed out if I look at the clock and I know I have just 30 more minutes of sleep. I get upset, and then it takes me a lot longer to fall back asleep.
Yeah. And if you get used to doing that, it's like a surprise. When the alarm goes off, you're like, oh damn.
You're like, oh yeah, I gotta get up.
Yeah. No, it's I don't know.
It'll be a lot more pleasant.
Yeah.
A lot more easygoing.
I think that's crucial for a lot of people. I think a lot of people have their phone right next to them, and they're always looking at it, and they're always looking at the clock.
Yeah. And you're looking at it right before you go to bed too, so that can't help you fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So that's our intro into circadian rhythms and a couple of things that we can do to improve it. And there's plenty more things that we can talk about, but I think that gives us enough to work with.
Oh, for sure.
And I just want to stress the importance of all these other foundations. And if you've got the fitness, if you're working out, most days, an hour a day, that you're good to go with that. If you're trying to eat real food, especially our way, like, keep tinkering with it. But then also if you just spend some time tinkering with these other foundations with your sleep, like you're going to see every area of your life improve.
Oh, I agree.
Everything gets better.
I agree.
For sure. What else? What do we got coming up? We got anything exciting on the horizon?
What are we doing next? Our next lifestyle meeting is not this Saturday, but the next.
Next Saturday, yeah.
Yes.
And then we have a retreat that we put in.
Yes.
Yep. We should be posting that today. That retreat's going to be awesome.
Perfect.
It's a 3-day full immersion that's on April 26th, which is a Friday. Friday evening, we come out and we have just a little talk, and then we cook food for everyone. So it's $100 for the weekend. And we're making all your food. You just got to show up with your stuff to camp, and that's it. You know.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I think that's a really good deal. So Friday night.
I think so too. Cook for me, cool. There's $100.
$100. I mean, like, shoot, we just paid $65 for a meat and cheese tasting, which was amazing.
Yeah.
But
how was that?
It was so great.
Oh, it looked delicious.
Yeah, it was so great. And it was so fun, so educational, so professional. I loved it. We're going to do it again.
Love it, love it. Okay,
anyway, the retreat Friday through Sunday, and throughout the entire weekend, we got little seminars and talks and workshops. And then Sunday morning, we're finishing with a nice, beautiful hike and a little meditation session.
Yes.
So
everyone, check your emails. Keep updated with everything. Mm-hmm. Follow us on social media so you can get all the where, what's, when's, and how's.
Yeah, anytime we put anything out, it's going to be all over social media and in the newsletter and stuff like that. If you're not in our newsletter, make sure you subscribe.
Yes.
We usually cover that at the end of this. So what else we got? What do you got coming up? Anything exciting?
No.
Life?
Daily? No.
Yeah, cool.
No, things are good.
Cool. You're looking great.
Thank you.
Really proud of you.
I'm in love with everything that I'm doing. So
I know. I watch your fitness videos. I'm like, man, you're starting to move really good.
Yeah, thank you.
Starting to move really good.
I'm in love with Olympic weightlifting.
Yeah.
In love. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm happy. So yeah.
Cool.
Sweet. Thanks, Paul.
All right. We are out of here.
Bye-bye.
Thank you guys for listening.
Yeah, so remember, the purpose of this podcast is to support our SHT community and to be in your ear as a go-to resource for all things SHT.
If any of you have fallen off, if you need support, honestly, just come back and listen to some of these episodes. Get re-inspired, get re-motivated, and get re-engaged. If you're new to us, the best way to get started is by joining our newsletter at sht4life.com.
That's SHT4life.com. And you can also find us on Facebook at Superhuman Transformation, and then on Instagram, Superhuman Transformation, which you're doing an amazing job with.
Thank you.
And then also Twitter, it's SHT4life. I think that's all we got.
See ya.